Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya Yato Anvayadi Taratascha Artheshu Abhigyaswarat Tene Brahmahridaya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yat Suraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatratra Sargo Mrisha Dhamna Swena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam Shukamukad Amrita Drava Sanyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhui Bhavukaha. So now we are entering the third chapter of the 10th Skandha of Bhagavatam. This is the glorious chapter of the advent of Krishna. So we saw that Krishna entered Vasudeva and then Devaki, and they were radiating effulgence, and Brahma with the Devas came and offered his prayers and returned. And now came the most delightful hour. Shuka Brahmam continues, he says, the most delightful, auspicious hour came when the Rohini nakshatra, the star Rohini, was ascendant. All the stars and the planets were in the most auspicious position. The skies were clear, even though it was the season of rain, monsoon. The skies were clear, and there were all the stars shining clearly, and the earth was radiating, as it were. Everyone was feeling some unexplainable happiness in their hearts. The rivers were flowing beautifully with clear water. All the lakes were full. The flowers were blooming. The forests were fertile and growing all kinds of beautiful flowers with fragrances. A gentle breeze was blowing from the river Yamuna, bringing a sweet fragrance. And all the holy sages were suddenly feeling lifted up. They were persecuted by Kamsa so badly that they couldn't even engage in any austerities, any activities, sacred rites, and so on. But suddenly they felt lifted in their heart. The minds of the righteous became cheerful, and those who were demoniac felt depressed. And all of this was happening as there were wonderful sounds of celebration in the heavens. The Kinnaras, the Gandharvas, the Siddhas, they were all dancing. The sages were all celebrating. Flowers were flowing down. And at this auspicious hour, it is said, when midnight came, right at the stroke of midnight, in thick darkness, the light of the universe came. Everyone's prayer was answered, and Bhagavan Vishnu appeared right there to Devaki and Vasudeva in the prison cell. As the full moon appears in the eastern sky, Bhagavan appears there. It says, Nishithe tama udbhate jayamane janardane devakyam devarupinyam Vishnu sarvaguhashayah avirasi yata pratyam dishin induriva pushkalah. So Nishite, in the middle of the night, midnight, when everybody was praying, everybody was having a very auspicious mood. Devaki, who was glowing like a Devi, she was already all the Yadus, as we saw, Devaki, Vasudeva, Yashoda, Nanda, they were all demigods who had come down, Devatas, and she was especially resplendent now. And from her it is said, Janardana, Vishnu, Sarva Guhashaya, the one who resides in the cave of the hearts of everyone. He appeared like the full moon appears on the eastern sky and radiated. And this is called as Janmashtami, because this is the 8th day of the lunar fortnight when Rohini star is ascendant. And because 8 is Ashta, Janma means birth, it is Janmashtami. Very interestingly, in Vrajabhumi, in many places, it is not even called as Krishna Janmashtami or Krishna Jayanti, it is only referred to as Janmashtami. This is because they feel that if they mention Krishna Janmashtami, then Krishna's birth will be known to Kamsa, and therefore they don't want Kamsa to know. So the mood of Vraja is so sweet that they want to protect Krishna, as if Krishna needs the protection of everyone. This is the sweet mood of Vrijavasis, of people who have such sweet devotion to Krishna that they feel they have to protect Krishna, the one who takes care of the whole universe. And yet the Vrajavasis are so sweet in their love for Krishna that they feel this little child we have to protect. And therefore they don't say Krishna Janmashtami because they are afraid that mentioning the word Krishna, Kamsa will get to know that he is born. So they simply say Janmashtami to say that the birth has happened. That's what it means, without even mentioning the name. Such is the sweetness of the mood of love. Vasudeva beholds this beautiful boy that's born. As soon as Krishna is born, he instantly reveals his original form. He reveals the form with 4 arms, with lotus like eyes, with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma in each of the arms. The 4 paraphernalia have tremendous significance. Shankha is the conch shell called Panchajanya, and when conch shell is blown, it gives the sound Om, which is the source of the 5 elements, and that's why it's called Panchajanya. The discus, Sudarshana Chakra, symbolizes time itself. It spins like the wheel of time, and it's so beautiful to behold because time unfolds beautifully through seasons and days and nights, sunrise and sunset, and so on. And yet it cuts life every moment, and therefore, one who is attached to the body, his life is taken away by time, and that is Sudarshana Chakra, the deadly weapon of Bhagavan. Gada, the mace, is the weapon that knocks people to wake up from the slumber of Maya. The suffering that we face in life every once in a while that wakes us up out of the slumber of bodily attachment is the Gada. And the lotus Padma is the symbolism for the true purpose of life, which is to flower, the heart to flower in purity and love. So with all these 4, Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, that is conch shell, discus, mace, and the lotus flower in his hands, Krishna appears there, giving his original vision as Narayana. So the verse is so beautiful, and it is a very famous, often quoted verse. Tam adbhutam balakam ambujekshanam chaturbhujam Shankha Gadar Yudayudham. So Adbhutam Balakam, the most wonderful child, has appeared, Ambujekshanam, with lotus eyes, Chaturbhujam, 4 arms, and each of the arm carrying Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, conch, discus, mace, and lotus. He is having all his opulence there. Instantly, Krishna reveals why he is Swayam Bhagavan. This is the complete incarnation, the full appearance of Bhagavan in his complete potency, and therefore he appears with these 4 arms, with Srivatsa on his chest, with Kaustuba gem, with all the opulences that Krishna has, and seeing him, seeing that Supreme Lord Hari has born as our son, Vasudeva and Devaki are speechless. They are completely in ecstasy, and Vasudeva mentally right there celebrates this Utsava. It says here, Krishna Avatara Utsava Sambrahmo Asprashan. There is no Utsavam that can be done outwardly because they are in a prison cell. This is the wonder of Krishna Avatar. The most glorious avatar happens in a prison cell with no celebration, with nobody to even mark it except the 2 parents. And yet it was a Utsavam, it was a festival in the heart of Vasudeva and Devaki because of the vision they had. And Vasudeva mentally promises 10,000 cows to be donated to sagely people. And then he looks at this opulent boy that has appeared as his own son, the splendor, and he realizes that it is the Supreme Lord Hari, Vishnu himself. So Vasudeva folds his arms in Namaskar Mudra and offers his pranams. He offers his obeisances and is bending low and offers his prayers. This is the greatness of Krishna, that when Krishna appears, his mother and father first offer prayers. Normally, even in the case of avatars, the mother and father simply celebrate the son having born. But Krishna, being Purna Avatar, Swayam Bhagavan, when he appears, it's so overwhelming for even Vasudeva that he instantly falls at the feet of the little baby that is born, who is revealing this divine form, and he offers the most beautiful prayer. He says, O Bhagavan, you have come here. I have known you directly now. I have seen you directly. The one who is beyond the material plane, the one who is transcendent truth, one who is pure consciousness, one who is the witness of all. You have appeared here, he says. Viditosi Bhavan Sakshat Purushaha Prakrite Paraha Kevala Anubhavananda Swarupaha Sarva Buddhidrik. You are Kevala Anubhavananda. You are the pure experience of bliss of consciousness. Sarva Buddhidrik. You are the witness of all minds. And you have appeared here Sakshat. Literally in front of me you have appeared. You who are transcendent to all of matter has appeared. From you has come forth all of matter. So Vasudeva is now situated in pure wisdom because of this vision itself. So he reveals the highest wisdom in this prayer. He says, you have from your own being brought forth this whole creation, this entire creation made of Mahat Tattva, the cosmic principle. And from that the various elements, the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air and space, and all the senses, and then the mind, the intellect, the ego, the memory, mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, everything has come forth from you, and yet you have not been touched by it, you are not affected by it. It seems like you have entered it, but you have really not entered it. He says beautifully that just as it seems like everything is pervaded by you, but in reality, you are not appearing in anything. It is exactly as what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter. He says, Matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshu avastitaha. Then he says, Nachamatstani bhutani. So he says, everything appears in me, but I am not present in any of them. But in truth, nothing in fact even appears from my perspective. So this is exactly what the very first verse of Bhagavatam also says, where it says, Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha. Just as the mirage appears because of the light of the sun, and sunlight seems to have entered the mirage, but in reality, the mirage is simply there as an optical illusion, and it is there because of the presence of the sun, and yet the sun doesn't enter it. Similarly, here also, Vasudeva says that the whole of universe, the creative energy has come forth from you, just as sunlight comes forth from the sun, and yet you are simply the witness who are not engaged in any activity. In your presence, everything happens, and you are unaffected. In fact, Krishna says the same thing in the Gita 4th chapter regarding his appearance. He says beautifully that even though I am unborn, and even though I am the eternal self of all, birthless, I appear with this Maya through my own energy as if born. He says, Ajopi san, avyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi san, prakritim swam adhishtaya, sambhavami atma mayaya. In the 4th chapter, he says, I appear through my own Maya, having this entire material energy under my control, even though I am ever the unborn, birthless, Supreme Lord. And to understand this is to understand the mystery of avatar, and that's why he says, the one who understands it correctly is liberated. Janma karma cha me divyam, evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. One who understands my birth correctly, my activities correctly, he is liberated. So, to have any false idea of him as simply just another person who is born and who dies, this is the false impression that people have, because of which they get deluded. They are not aware of the true position of the special case of the appearance of Bhagavan. So he explains in Gita here very clearly that he has no reason to appear. Every born being appears because of some karma, because of some desires, because of some prarabdha karma, past desires that propels them to take birth. Whereas Krishna appears out of his own sweet will, for his own leela, for outwardly protecting dharma and inwardly for giving the mood of devotion and love to devotees by which they can attain the true realization. So his appearance is only out of love and compassion and has no karma behind it. And that's why he says, Ajopi san, even though I am birthless and I am the Lord of all, I seem to be born, and I do this with the whole Maya under my control. And that is what Vasudeva says here. You have appeared here as if my son, but in reality, you are not born like anyone else. You are appearing here out of your own Maya. It is your own Leela, and you have given me this most glorious darshan. The whole universe has come forth from you, and yet you have remained unaffected by it. Nothing is touched. Because of this, you remain untouched by the entire process of creation. You remain the pure witness of all as Satchit Ananda, and yet through your own Maya you have entered this. This is the mystery of your appearance. And therefore he says, the wise declare the appearance, continuance, and the destruction of this universe as only proceeding from you who are entirely desireless, and yet it is from you that all the gunas come, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Through rajas you create this universe, as it were. Through sattva you maintain this universe, as it were. Through tamas you destroy this universe, as it were. All of these activities happen in your presence, and yet you are unaffected by any of these activities, and therefore you are actually not even the doer of any of these activities. And therefore he says that now that you have appeared, it is certain that all the demons are going to be destroyed and dharma is going to be protected. Having said all this, now Vasudeva says, now his fatherly mood comes and he says, but I am afraid that if Kamsa comes to know of your birth, that villain might come here chasing you with uplifted weapons. So this is the beauty of Vasudeva and Devaki, that they are given the vision of Bhagavan. They know that the Supreme Lord has appeared. They glorify him. First Vasudeva has glorified, and suddenly he is shifted within to the mood of a simple father, and he expresses fear for Kamsa. And then Devaki, in her turn, she offers her obeisances too, and with a bright smile she says, beautifully, Devaki also expresses the most beautiful prayer. She says, you are the Supreme Lord Vishnu, the illuminator of all minds, the undefinable reality, that which the Vedas declare as unmanifest. You are pure consciousness, you transcend all the three gunas, you are absolute existence, you are unqualified, you are devoid of activity. This is such a beautiful glorification of Bhagavan's original nature. She says, Rupam yattat prahur avyaktamadhyam brahma jyotir nirgunam nirvikaram sattamatram nirvishesham niriham sattvam sakshad vishnur adhyatma deepaha. She says, you are the light of wisdom, you are Vishnu, you are without any modification, you are without any change, you are beyond all the three gunas, you are truth embodied, you are pure consciousness, and yet you have appeared here as my son. What is the fortune that I have done? She is so happy with this. And she says, when the whole universe is dissolved, when there is nothing left, when the cosmic principle Mahatattva itself is taking in everything and it dissolves into its source, all that is left is you alone. And yet you again come forth by bringing time out of you, and through time you bring forth the whole universe, and therefore everyone is brought forth by your Maya, and they are again absorbed back into your own being. And the ones who realize this, people within this manifestation are running here and there for happiness out of fear and so on. But the one who realizes this, who realizes your lotus feet, that is to say, one who recognizes that everything is sourced in you, everything is sustained by you, everything dissolves into you, you alone are the only truth. You are the heart of all beings. Your energy is the expression of all beings. When one realizes this, then and there one is freed, one is liberated. Until then, one is running here and there. And then she says, now that you have come, the terrible Kamsa will be finished, she says. Then after that, she looks at Bhagavan in this beautiful four-armed form, and then she also, her motherly mood comes forth. After glorifying him in the pure, supreme feeling, now, very interestingly, she also switches to the motherly mood and says, your birth here should not be known to Kamsa or Madhusudana, she says. Janmate Maya Asau Papo Ma Vidyan Madhusudana. The wicked Kamsa should not know that you have born here, because if he knows that you are born, he is going to come for you. So you first please withdraw this form. So she prays to Krishna in her sweet motherly mood that if you reveal this form of this four arms and this transcendent form, he will know that Bhagavan is born. Of course, in her motherly mood, she doesn't realize that if this is Bhagavan, Kamsa cannot do anything about it, even if he comes there. But out of her own sweet motherly Vatsalya Bhava, she says, please withdraw this form and become like a regular child and let Kamsa not know about you. We have to somehow protect you. So she is saying like this, and hearing this prayer of Devaki and Vasudeva, Bhagavan replies, Bhagavan is still in his transcendent form. He is not as the little baby, but he is revealing his original form, and therefore he addresses them. He says, O Devaki and Vasudeva, he addresses them not as parents, but as Devaki and Vasudeva, because he is still in the transcendent form as Narayana. He says, he reveals to them their past lives. He says, first in the Swayambhuva Manu's period, you were the couple Prishni and Sutapa. Prishni was Devaki and Sutapa was Vasudeva, and they engaged in tremendous austerities, it is said, and after great austerities they wanted to have a son. And when they wanted to have a son after great austerities, they still had the desire to enjoy the union of being a husband and wife and have a good son. And so Bhagavan agreed to this and appeared as Prishni Garbha, which literally means son of Prishni. But their desire was still their prayer was still tainted with desire. Then the second time is the story of Aditi and Kashyapa, where he was born as Vamana. So we saw the story where Indra and the Devatas were driven out of heaven, and because of that their mother Aditi engaged in prayer, and because of this prayer that was taught by Kashyapa, she propitiated Bhagavan, and Bhagavan appeared as her son Vamana, and we saw how Vamana thereby restored the heavenly realm to Indra. So there also he appeared as the son of Aditi and Kashyapa, and Bhagavan reveals that you were Aditi and Kashyapa, you both, and there also you had a slight desire of regaining the heavenly realm for your sons, and I appeared, but now you have been purified completely. So he reveals to them, because this time Devaki and Vasudeva did not even have the slightest material desire in terms of having Bhagavan as their son for any purpose, but simply for the love of it. And therefore Krishna reveals to them that now in this third incarnation I am again born, and I am revealing to you my four-armed form to reveal that I am indeed the Supreme Being who has appeared as your son based on your past prayers. And because this time you are completely freed of all desires, you shall be totally liberated. He says, you knowing me as your son and as also as the Supreme Being, and bestowing your love on me, you will attain the highest state. He gives this greatest benediction right away to Vasudeva and Devaki. He says, Yuvam mam putra bhavena brahma bhavena chasakrit chintayantau kritasnehau yasyethe madgatim param. You will attain my eternal abode, the supreme beatitude, liberation after this life, by loving me as your son and also as the supreme Brahman, the pure being, with great adoration and reverence. So this is the mood of Vasudeva and Devaki. So we see how Vasudeva and Devaki, both the mood of devotee and the mood of parents are there in them. So even in their prayers, first they address Krishna as the Lord, as Vishnu, as Bhagavan, but they also express this Vatsalya Bhava, this mood of parental affection, as if they are protecting Krishna. Whereas we shall see when Yashoda and Nanda, they become the foster parents of Krishna, they have 100% pure Vatsalya Bhava. They do not even see Krishna as the Supreme Being, but they simply see him completely, totally, absolutely as their son who needs to be protected every moment. And that is why Yashoda and Nanda's love is so pure, is so sublime, that it is considered the highest expression of Vatsalya Bhava. And similarly, all the attendants in Vrajabhumi in Vrindavan, when Krishna goes to Vrindavan, they all have this similar love. The friends tree see Krishna only as their friend. The parents see Krishna only as their son. And the gopis see Krishna only as their lover. They do not even have the conception of awe and reverence. They only see him as their beloved, sweet Krishna. And that is the greatness of Vrindavan. Here, Vasudeva and Devaki in Mathura, they have a tinge of reverence. And in Dwaraka, when Krishna goes finally, there it will be full reverence, because there Krishna is the opulent king and everyone will reverently with awe worship him. So these are the three moods. In Vrindavan, pure love. In Mathura, a mixture of love and reverence. In Dwaraka, full reverence. And that is why Vrindavan's mood is considered the sweetest mood, because it brings one closest to Krishna in the heart like one's own beloved. So after Krishna addresses them very beautifully, he now takes the form of a small baby. It says here, Iti uktva asid hari tushnim bhagavan atma mayaya pitro sampashyato sadyo babhuva prakrita sishuhu. After having spoken this to his parents, he fell silent. So obviously a little born baby cannot speak, but because he revealed his transcendent divine form, he spoke these words. Now he became silent. He withdrew all these opulences, all the transcendent paraphernalia, and suddenly he became a prakrita shishu. That is like a regular baby, a small human baby. And then instantly Yogamaya came into action. So we saw in the last chapter that Yogamaya was prepared for this whole event. Yogamaya is the sister of Krishna. That is why in Lalita Sahasranama it is said Padmanabha Sahodari. She is addressed as the sister of Krishna. And she, the divine mother, the sister of Krishna, the one who controls the whole universe in its material aspect, the material energy, she took over now, and everything was done beautifully by her under the instructions of Krishna, as we saw in the last chapter. So instantly Yogamaya swings into action. She immediately liberated Vasudeva's shackles. Vasudeva was in shackles, as we know. Devaki was in shackles. All the shackles were removed. The gates were flung open. They had iron gates. They had guards there. So the instructions given to the guards was, as soon as the child is born, let me know, because I'll come and kill the child. This is what Kamsa has told all the guards there. And so everybody is waiting for this child to be born. But Yogamaya's action immediately put all the guards in deep sleep. They all went into Yoga Nidra. They had no clue what is happening. The gates were all flung open. And then there was a beautiful basket with soft linen in it, where Krishna was placed. This little baby was placed. And all the gates being flung open, the doors being flung open. As darkness was everywhere surrounding, in the darkness, clouds started raining now. The sky was clear, as we saw when he was born, but now the clouds started raining to provide cover. There was total darkness. All the stars disappeared. There was rain. Indra was pouring rain down. And Vasudeva, without any volition, everything happens automatically. Yogamaya is making Vasudeva act. Vasudeva put Krishna in a basket with a soft linen spread on it, put the basket on top of his head, marched out without the slightest fear, and there was nothing to be afraid of because all the guards were asleep, all the doors were open. He walked out. He was guided naturally to Vrindavan from there, where he is meant to go. And Indra was pouring rain, and Shesha, Ananta Shesha, the 1,000-headed serpent, came to provide an umbrella for Vasudeva and Krishna, who was on top of Vasudeva. And Yamuna was overflowing. The river was so full that she was overflowing, and Vasudeva was very afraid, because at this point Vasudeva was only afraid that the river may not leave them passage, because the river was so full. And yet he, through Yogamaya, without a thought, entered the river. And as he enters the river is parting way for him. And yet the river is also having waves that are coming and covering him. He is not sure how to go, but he is going with great faith because Yogamaya is propelling him. What he doesn't realize is Yamuna is herself, through her waves, coming and touching the feet of Krishna. So she is coming up as waves to touch, go above Vasudeva's head, touch the lotus feet of Krishna, and then go down. And then she is doing this constantly to both touch his lotus feet and yet not submerge Vasudeva in any way but give him clear passage. And Vasudeva is walking along. It is said that just as the ocean gave way for Ram to go from Rameshwaram to Lanka, Yamuna gave way for Vasudeva to go from Mathura to Vrindavan. And then Vasudeva reaches Vrindavan. There he goes to Nanda's place in Gokul, and Nanda and Yashoda are buried in sleep there as well. So very interestingly, Yogamaya is born. So we saw all these instructions given by Krishna to Yogamaya, that he said, you go and be born as the daughter of Yashoda and Nanda. And now the whole plan is revealed. So the plan is for Vasudeva to leave the son there with Yashoda and Nanda and take the daughter back to Kamsa. So accordingly, Yashoda and Nanda are also put in Yoga Nidra. It is so wonderful that they even forgot that they had a girl child. Yashoda had just given birth, and she instantly, just as Devaki had given birth, just at the same instant Yashoda had given birth, she had given birth to a girl child, which is Yogamaya, but she did not even remember it. Such was the power of Yogamaya. She put Yashoda, Nanda, everyone in Yoga Nidra. Everyone was deep asleep. The child was there, Yogamaya, sleeping there. Vasudeva comes there. He is instructed to leave the son there by Yashoda and take the daughter. So normally one would never do this, because he knows that when he takes the daughter will be killed by Kamsa, because Kamsa is such a cruel person that whether the child is a son or a daughter, he'll kill. So normally Vasudeva, being a pious person, would not sacrifice someone else's daughter, but here Vasudeva was not acting out of any volition. It was all done by Yogamaya as per the divine plan. So Yogamaya herself, who is the daughter who is born, she impelled Vasudeva to carry herself. So Vasudeva comes there from this soft linen basket. He takes Krishna out, the baby Krishna, the sweetest baby. He puts him by the side of Yashoda. Yashoda is not aware, Nanda is not aware, nobody in Gokul is aware. Everybody is in the spell of Yoga Nidra, and Krishna is left there by Yashoda. And he takes Yogamaya back on the same basket with soft linen and goes back the same way he came back to Mathura. And thus ends this chapter, by which we see the beauty of the birth of Krishna and how Krishna reaches the foster parents Yashoda and Nanda, who will wake up to the glory of having Lord as their son. And we will also see Yogamaya, after coming back, what she does to Kamsa. With this chapter ends. The glorious birth of Krishna, the advent of the Supreme Being, the most auspicious avatar, has happened today in this chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.